NIC homeowner not officially attached to anything. I lived in a developed subdivision, so the CAO does not affect me, at least not yet. I've been looking at your website, and on your website, you post as if it were a fact that the Nature Conservancy reports that only 3% of the Puget Sound prairies are left. Relying on their opinion for something like that is relying on a fox's opinion on the best way to guard the hen house. Do you mean to tell me that my government is making policy decisions based on a special interest group's narrow and unscientific opinion? You protest that we have to protect rare and endangered species in South Puget Sound as if it were not in abundance somewhere else. Thank God you weren't in office when the wolves and wolverines and bears were running around. We might be protecting them at the cost of our lives. A further read on your webpage states that an important habitat can now be defined as, like it's a bonus, it qualifies as a bonus, that less than 1 acre, an upgrade over the minimum area qualifications of 5 acres. Telling me that 1 acre is vital habitat is like telling me that my fishbowl in the living room is important habitat to the ocean. Excuse me. You also expand the definition of the CAO to include areas that don't have prairie plants, also qualify because they were choked out by invasive species. Did it ever occur to you guys that maybe the landowners have been given permission to maintain their property? That would have never occurred. You then go on to include up to 600 feet around the important habitat that have trees on it. But landowners don't have to worry about that being restricted as long as it doesn't have an impact on wildlife. So I guess as long as a bird doesn't land in my tree or build a nest, I can actually feel like I own part of that land. Let me ask you this. How would it feel if we came to your house and declared your backyard important habitat? Banned you from using it for cookouts, for get-togethers, use your back patio, no children are allowed to touch it, no dogs, you have to leave it untouched. Would the critical areas ordinance be so critical then? Amazingly, this is not the biggest transgression. After you devalue the land, restrict the use and ability to sell it, you go on to assess taxes on the entire portion of the land that they have no control over. What's next? Assessing them taxes on their neighbor's land to pay for? A logical case can be made for the CAO, but there's no justification in taxing people on land that is only theirs on paper. When you first started out your careers in government, it was probably with the thought of doing good things for people and making this a better place to live. As you look around you and you see the 40,000 people that have had their land taken away and their taxes and have to pay taxes on that, what grade would you give yourself on that? When did you decide that the wishes and the whims of the world's most powerful organization, the National Democratic Party, and special interest groups came before those of your neighbors and your constituents who voted for you and pay your salaries? In closing, as a local activist, I want to thank you for giving me 40,000 landowners who are so angry that they'll be willing to doorbell in the next election against you and your fellow county leaders responsible for this ordinance. Your job's going to start getting a lot more unpleasant real soon.